It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, Miss Rusty. It is Wednesday, but this is the first show of the week because I did not do Monday because it was Memorial Day. And yesterday I had somebody, but so it was, I'm going to put them on blast here because that's what happens here. I won't name names, but this person had a manager, and manager for someone that's doing podcasts or, you know, agent or whatever they want to call them. There's one guy on here I will put over who gave me a lot of guests that have been authors on here that are, so basically anyone who's an author who's not with the crew, this other guy put them on. And this guy has been great. All his guests have been great on here, on time, great to talk with, and I've liked them all. And this person said that they're the person they were representing stayed up too late last night and couldn't make the show. And this was in 20 minutes before the show. And then they asked if I wanted to rebook. I was like, nope. So be on time. But that's not what today's about, because we can talk about other stuff because we're going to. And thank you, everyone, for being here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN, sponsored by Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Hardcore Entertainment. Hypnosis is great. Suckemup.org and Stoner Eats Productions. So, you guys, let's get on with the show. I'm going to bring my special guest on here, right now. And we have Tony Mantor. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, thanks. Yourself?
Good. Can't complain. It's a good day today. And I was saying that yesterday I had a guest, well, somebody who is representing a guest, and they decided to let me know 20 minutes before that the person who was going to be the guest stayed up too late last night and was not going to be able to make it. And wow. I appreciate that you're here. And that's, I mean, showing up is half the battle. Showing up now will get you pushed through if you go to school in Oregon, and because reading, writing, and arithmetic is no longer needed to be pushed through to the next grade and graduate. So that's interesting. But yeah, so you're doing great. And I see you got, you know, I don't know. I like to go and usually see what's going on in people's backgrounds, and I can see I see Glenn Campbell and Elvis and somebody I can't quite make out. I'm not sure.
Reba.
Is that Reba?
Reba.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw the red hair and I'm like, I think that's Reba, but I'm not sure. And so you're in the music world. Where do you fit into the music world?
Well, I started out as a singer-songwriter, just like everyone else, you know, trying to make my mark and have radio hits and tour the country and world and do all that. And I did well. I can't complain. But as I progressed and as I evolved and things changed, like things do, I wound up here in Nashville doing production and development work. So for the last since 1993, when I made my move, permanent move here to Nashville, I've been producing up and coming singers. I've been working with legends that developed this music world. I've worked with singers that have had big hits, and then I manage select singers. So I'm kind of behind the scenes on the music side. You know, but it's worked out well. I can't complain.
So where were you before Nashville?
I was in a little town called Madison, and that was in Maine. So I was up in the Northeast.
And so, I mean, what kind were you going to? You know, was it open mics or what? I mean, what was it back then, or what were you doing? Were you going showing that you have a guitar or something? When you say singer-songwriter, I picture someone with an acoustic guitar And I don't know, man. I don't. That's just what I picture
Yeah.
whenever I've been at Mike's, and
Right,
so
right.
so
No, I'm a piano player.
cool.
I was classically trained. I started lessons at 8 years old, and so then I got to the point where my piano teacher told me that she had taken me as far as she could, and I wanted to go into Berklee College of Music in Boston for just to just to learn some improv and just do different things, because I didn't want to become a teacher. I wanted to be a performer. So when I say singer-songwriter, I would get together with friends and we'd, collaborate like anybody does, and write some songs. And then I actually worked with a couple of guys that needed some transportation. They were country, and I was more on the pop side. I was Eagles, that style of music,
Yeah.
and so they needed transportation to Nashville, and I had it. So I took them down, and my first impression of Nashville before because I'd never been to Nashville. So my first thoughts was, man, this is a country hick town, because all it does is country. So when I got here, I saw, concrete and steel like every other city, and the people were nice and laid back atmosphere in the studio. And I just fell in love with just the atmosphere of Nashville, because it's so different from New York or LA, where it's just hustle and bustle and all this. And you can go to Nashville, even today, you can go to Nashville, even though traffic has changed and we've got more people that's moved in. It's still completely different from the other larger cities out there. So it worked out, and so then I started traveling back and forth to Nashville to record, because the musicians were great, the laid back atmosphere, just everything worked really smoothly. So I did that, and we released. I signed with an independent record label, and we wound up having some records that made the charts. And I had a couple of major labels that looked at me, and so things were evolving and looking pretty good, and then ultimately the label end of it just didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And the people that I was working with, that was producing me, had produced major hit records and been in major, one of them was a singer in the Argyles, which had Alley Oop and all those big hits back in the 50s and 60s. And the other one was Bob Millsap, and he produced a lot of names, and he actually published the song that Anne Murray made famous, "You Needed Me." So they had such great contacts and great information that he called me up one day. He goes, why don't you get off the road and come down here and do what we do, because we're getting ready to retire, and a good song, how to produce it, the people. So I had to do some reflecting and decide, what was going to be best for me. So I made the decision to make that move, and here I am, 30 years later, and it's just worked out. I couldn't ask for anything any better.
That's not a bad deal right there. And I mean, you got got to see kind of the evolution of the city as well. And I mean, 30 years, the city can change pretty drastically.
Oh, it has changed so drastically. But for those that have been in Nashville and remember walking Music Row, Music Row was 2 or 3 streets in the city that you could walk from old house to old house, with a few new buildings built in between, and each place would have an entity of music. It could be publishing and production, independent record label, major label, it could be anything. And you could walk from place to place and pitch your stuff. Well, now fast forward to today, a lot of those iconic studios that even Paul McCartney recorded in some of these studios, they've been torn down and replaced with condos. So Nashville is unfortunately fastly becoming the cities that we chose not to be like, but we're being like them. It's still laid back, it's still good, but the one good thing that's come out of it is Nashville has evolved into Music City, because they've always called Nashville Music City, USA, meaning country music. But now you come into Nashville, you can see any style of music you want to see. you can see R&B, you can see blues, you can see jazz, you can see country, you can see rap. I mean, just anything that you want is here. So it has evolved into a much more diverse musical city than it's ever been. But with that happening, there's been some costs. We've lost some studios, and the condos have been built, and it's become a bigger city, to deal with. But it's still a great place.
So where are the studios ending up now? Are they going to people's houses? Or are they going further out, more into away from the city?
Well, for a while, music evolved into bedroom studios, that type of thing, where everybody kind of made their own music in their own home, but the problem with that is they didn't have the live musicians there, so they didn't have the interaction, and they didn't have the ability to feed off each other and create. They would just create whatever was in their mind. But sometimes when you put 3, 4, 5 guys in a studio together that's played on hit records, they'll come up with something, or they'll make a mistake. I mean, I had a mistake made one time when I was recording, and everybody looked at the person that made a mistake, and they said, "Oh, we got to recut that." I said, "Oh no, that mistake is just so awesome. We got to take and build around it." So stuff like that happens. But when you do it, and when you're the only guy, or you only have a couple people in there, and you're doing this self-made music, you lose that collaboration. So it went that way for a while, but now it's kind of evolved back into, the studios are getting, busier, and people are realizing that you've got to take and have that kind of ability of collaboration and feeding off each other. And it's kind of grown back to that again. So it's done a circle, but it's still good.
Yeah. Side question. So, have you been up to Minnesota and been to Paisley Park, where Prince did all his, everything of his?
No, I have not been up there. I travel pretty much only when I need to travel for business, and sometimes if I get a chance, I'll go out there for pleasure and everything. But no, I have not made it up there yet.
If you get a chance, it's unreal. I mean, if you're a music producer, I mean, I was in heaven, just being able to see that much stuff, and just
sure
how well everything was made, and how everything was so acoustically perfect. And it was quite a trip. And there's no cell phones allowed in there too, which was something else I like about tours, not having that thing, or not having someone up against a wall,
right
while you're trying to take in everything. And
right
so, and then I had another question. So you were classically trained in piano,
right?
So now, so I was too, and now I don't know if people that are being taught now even need to read sheet music at all. And it seems to more just to be how to play something, how to, play a melody, or how to do whatever, how to get any sort of, like just being able to play, rather than being able to recite each note and understand how to read them on the,
right.
Whatever the every good boy does fine, space face kind of thing. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I put together a band, I put together a band that there's some of the, I mean, they've played on some of the biggest hit records that's come out of Nashville. They played on pop records, Cher, I mean, you name it, they played on it. But they're readers. They can take and listen to something. They can read the chart, and then they can play it. So just like right now, I'm sending some charts up into Canada for an artist that we're going to put up there, and hopefully, when we get them up there, they'll have readers that can listen to the music, read the charts that I've sent them, and then in a few hours they'll be playing it like they've played it with them for years.
So, okay. And so, I mean, you wouldn't, you still see the art in being able to read music and be
Oh
able
yeah,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, I mean, with everything that's being changed, you're going to have a group of people that can't read a lick of notes at all. Their ear, they listen to it, they play it, and there's nothing wrong with that, But when you go into a recording situation and you have a producer that has actual plans on how he wants it to go, then lots of times he'll have it charted out, and they've got to at least be able to, it doesn't take the improv away from it, but they've at least got to still be able to read a chart so they know where they're going, so that when they do decide that, okay, if I can play this here, I can do a good improv line here, they'll at least know where to put it, so they're not just wasting time in the studio, because the old adage, time is money, is very true.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, studio time is pretty expensive. And it's well worth it, because I mean, yeah, having that collaboration, as well as, having someone who knows what they're doing a lot better than you,
Right.
probably doing it is a big help.
Well, for the longest time, we were recording in these big studios, and doing all the post-production that we would do, and ultimately it was getting dummied down to earbuds, and that took a toll on the sound quality. So now that they've actually got the earbuds and the in-ear product at a much higher level, it's bringing back that ability to have high quality music, so that people really appreciate the music, rather than just hearing notes that are dummied down.
Yeah. And so, okay, so in your studio or around your studio, what or how much of your stuff now is still hardwired, analog type equipment, or what has gone digital? Do you still have big boxes full of chords? You know what they are, but you have six of other ones of them?
Well, I've got certain pieces of equipment that are vintage gear, and ultimately everything gets mixed down to digital. There's no way of getting around that. I mean, even though vinyl is making a big comeback, the digital world is here to stay, and it's not going to change. But what I do is I record in digital, but I have the path that it's being recorded, so that I do different things to give it a warmer sound. And then when I record the vocal, I've got a compressor, I've got different outboard gear that it goes through before it goes to digital. So I try and create that warmth of a vocal, like we did back when we was recording a 2-inch tape. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it is going to have a sound quality that hopefully the listener will hear and not realize they're hearing, but it's going to be good enough so that they go, whoa, I like this.
Yeah, and that's a line to very much just kind of ride on, with them not knowing that, oh, this is so good, but knowing subconsciously that this is something that I like, and just getting that feeling. And so then I also know that so many different songs are mixed at certain frequencies, and the certain frequencies each have different feelings they can elicit in the listener.
Right.
Where do you kind of have a frequency you like writing on, or recording on that, with that frequency, or do you kind of vary that?
Because a lot of people use 44.1 24-bit, but you can get it up to 48.96 now. It just depends, it depends on what you're trying to do, what kind of sound you want. But the biggest thing is as long as you're getting the quality out of it that you like, so that when you finally do get that final mix, that sound is there. I mean, it's like A lot of things come, like I had a song one time that was kind of a countryish song that I recorded, and I had the background vocalist do some scale down notes that emulated the guitar, but it was kind of operatic, but so a lot of people would hear it and they go, oh, I love that, but they didn't even have a clue they was listening to some operatic tendencies. They only knew that they liked the song. And if I had told them it was operatic, they might have gone, oh, I don't know, they might have prejudged it. So I try and just do some different things that add to the song that you might have heard before, but it's not exactly the same, so that it gives that ambience of a sound that I'm looking for. And then hopefully the people will like it, because it's a little different, but it's still, mainstream. It still fits into, the commercial product that's going out there. And they just have a few little things in there that add to it that they don't realize that they're hearing, but they're liking it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, is that something that would be more exclusive to you, or is that becomes, I mean, is there something that's sort of the Tony Mantor signature, like if someone hears something, or is there some little thing you like to sneak it in there?
I've got different things that I do that others don't do. There's a lot of people that will throw in a lot of extra words that aren't needed because they're crutch words, like and. If you take that word and out of there, it can leave, like a beat there, and all of a sudden you're hearing the next line. But if you're hearing the first line and the next line, it all becomes one line instead of two separate lines. So there's little things like that I like to do that sets it up. I find that a lot of singers and even songwriters, they put the wrong emphasis and feeling on the wrong words. They'll push this one word, and I'm going, take that word out of the sentence, and does it change the sentence? Well, no, this is the word that's the most important one. Put the emphasis on that one. Oh, okay. And then they'll do it, and then they'll sit back and go, oh, I never realized. So a lot of these people out there that self-produce and don't think they need a producer, they do good work. There's a lot of hit records out there that are self-produced. That's good, but can you make it a little bit better? Can a seasoned producer go in there and have you do things that you wouldn't have thought of, that all of a sudden change that record into something better? And that's something that you don't know until you do it. I mean, I've had singers that have had hit records, and I told them, I'm going to try and make you a little bit better than what you think you are. And they would look at me going, I've had some hit records out there before, and they've been pretty big. I said, yeah, they have, and then I get in there and I do the little things that I do. And then at the end, the singer said to me, I'm not going to admit this to anybody else, but you did make me a little better. So that just being said to me alone was worth it, even though no one else will know it, but that's kind of what I try and do. I try and make sure that the singer that I work with, I try and make them better every time out, because there's an old saying, that I like to use is the only person that you have to be better than today is the person that you was yesterday. So if that can be anything, that can be singing, that can be, just the way your outlook on life. It can be so many different things, but to me, when I'm putting somebody in there that's singing, I want them to be better today than they were yesterday. So if I can, even if it's just one little bit, one sentence, any one little thing that makes a difference, then we've made them better.
Yeah. And I mean, something that learned in stand-up comedy, like you go up and you charge $1 for every word that you use. And one word off and is a big deal if you're only making so much a night. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if you make each word really count, every word counts, every beat counts. But
Exactly.
then it's also, what's in between those beats,
Right.
I think that's the big part is what's in between it. And if it's a filler, I mean, that's not gonna,
Well,
people aren't gonna know, but they're gonna think that
yeah.
in your subconsciously, this is why am I hearing this? I don't
Well,
like it.
sometimes like you brought up comedy, sometimes if you leave a line out that you was going to put in there, but you leave it out, and because of that, it sets up the next line. You've got people focusing on the line that you wanted them to focus on, and hopefully that's the one that sells it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in music. You're trying to find that one thing that grabs their heart, and they go, oh yeah, I can feel that, or I can relate to that, or if you can get them thinking, then you've won half the battle right there.
Wow. And then, so have you ever had anyone have some sort of off improvisation or some kind of screw up, and they think that they're doing one song, but you end up taking that little bit and turning it into something completely different?
Well, what I've had is like someone will improv on something, and I'll hear it, and I'm going, and I'll say, that wasn't bad, but we have to make it better. So we turn that improv that they did that was kind of okay, but we work on the breath, on the delivery, on the way we bend that note. We do so many things to it with the singer, so that the improv that he tried to do that was like okay, but we turn that into something that's just outstanding, and hopefully that's part of the one thing that sells the song. And every time you can sell that song, with a line or something that makes them want to do it, then you've got it. You've sold it, and that's what I try and do.
Yeah. And then, so you also are involved in another venture of your own liking as well. You want to talk about that there?
Yeah, I when the pandemic hit, everything shut down. I mean, all my singers that I was working with, there was no more productions, there was no more shows. I mean, it just killed the business, and not just our business, but every business out there, But so because I was a singer-songwriter, and about 7 or 8 years ago, I had started working on a project that I wanted to do just for myself, just for the fun of it. One of my guys calls me up and said, "Well, we got all kind of time. We might as well work on it." So we did. So I worked on my own CD just for the fun of it, just to give to friends, family, kids, grandkids, anybody that wanted it. And then a songwriter that I had used one of his songs few years earlier on a singer that I was producing sent me a song, and he goes, "I think this is one of my best songs I've written." And the song was named "Why Not Me?" And I listened to it, and I'm going, this is uncanny, because just a year earlier, because on my social media, I try and be positive. I try and tell people, hey, never give up. It doesn't matter when you do it, only matters that you do it. Just keep evolving. Just keep the wheel spinning. And a year earlier, I had said on my Facebook, if you see somebody doing something you want to do, just look yourself in the mirror and say, why not me? And then a year later, I get a song called "Why Not Me?" So I'm going, oh, this is meant to be, So the song is about positivity, about never giving up on your dreams. If there's a mountain to climb it, whatever you got to do, just keep doing it. So So I recorded it and I added a steel into it to give it kind of a texture like the Eagles used to do. And a lot of my friends and promoters in Nashville, New York, LA, London, they say, "Oh man, you recorded a country song." And I'm going, "No, I'm not a country singer. I'm a middle of the road, pop singer, Eagles, that's kind of what it was." But they just thought it was country. So I said, "No, I'm not going to argue with you. If you think it's country, it's country. As long as you like it, that's all that matters." So they wanted me to release it. And I'm going, what's the point? I'm not going to go back out on the road. I'm not trying to resurrect my singing career. I'm just doing this for fun. And they said, "Well, there's nothing else there like it that's this positive." So I released it, and then I created a video to pay tribute to our first responders. And it got about 125,000 views, and it did well. And the promotion, worked for about 5 or 6 months, like any other promotion will work. And then I kind of thought it was over. I said, "Well, that was good. I had some fun with that." I did interviews around the world, and it did well over in the UK and parts of Europe. I'm going, "Oh, this is good." And then a couple of months later, I get this call. And this lady asked me, she says, "I really love what you did for the first responders. Can you do that for us?" And she's a speech therapist for autistic children. And so I'm going, okay, let me think about that. And to be honest and fully transparent, I didn't know much about autism. I was aware that it's out there because I've got friends of mine that have, nephews or nieces, that have autism, but it's nothing I deal with on a daily basis. And I didn't know anything about it. So I was a little hesitant because it's like, okay, what good can I do? I don't really know that much about it. So, and this was over a year ago, so I talked with her regional manager, and I talked with a couple charities about it. And the more I found out about it, the more I started realizing that maybe I can do this. Maybe I can help. So long story short, I decided that I would, but I told him, I said, I have to re-record the song so that it's not mistaken and confusing to people because I did the other version. So I recorded it in more of an adult contemporary pop, and made it more contemporary with putting a violin in it instead of, and just did different things. And then I got people to join me in a video that's part of the autistic community here in Nashville. And we released the video, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago. So it's gotten over 200,000 views, and all of a sudden it started catching on, and I've done interviews all over the country, all over the world, about it, and it led to me, meeting some people and doing some things, and so now I'm starting up a Why Not Me the World podcast because I've got so many people around the world that are involved with me on this and want to be part of it. So I felt that it was a good thing to do because I think autism is misunderstood. So every April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And I looked at everything that the charities were putting out there and everything, and I was really kind of confused that they didn't use a word that I thought was more important, because they put out there autism awareness and acceptance, which is great because people do need to be aware of it, and they do need to accept people, but they need to also understand. Because the understanding is the bigger part of acceptance, and the awareness is there, because you can be aware of something and you can accept that it's there because you're aware of it. But until you fully understand it, you don't know how to react if you come in contact with people that's autistic, or because the perception of autism is that it's a death sentence, and it's not. Because I had a mother tell me that she told a friend of hers that her son was autistic, and the lady, that she told said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your son's autistic," and went on, and she goes, "It's not a death sentence. It's just that he's autistic." And I felt that was very important. So So I've kind of coined the phrase for my slogan is autism awareness, acceptance, and understanding, because this podcast, I'm going to, I went out there and I listened to podcasts that deal with autism, and there's a lot of good ones out there. You know, people can find out the scientific part of it by listening to doctors and nurses and different things, and they talk about it. But I didn't hear any, and there might be some out there that I didn't hear, you know, because there's so many out there, but I didn't hear any that dealt with real people. So I decided that I'm going to have real people telling real stories about how they found out they was diagnosed and how they live with it, how they deal with it on a daily basis. Because I think that's a big part of the understanding is people, you know, hearing stories of other people around the world that are in the same situation as they might be.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of stories that need to be told. And there's a guy that I had on within the last month. I'm blanking on his name, but he has a podcast, and he has a organization called Autism Rocks and Roll.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, if you're looking for a guest, I'll show you his info at somewhere down the line. But yeah, he was a good person to talk with, and I'm blanking on the name, but I remember that part. So it's
important, you know, because he made an impact on you that you remembered. You know, the biggest thing that I've found is that everybody has a story, you know, and the key thing is just because someone's autistic, you know, that's not a big thing. I mean, it can be. I mean, needless to say, there are people out there that are autistic that need help on a daily basis. But that's what kind of people tend to be focused on, is the ones that need that help on a daily basis. And they don't realize that there's so many autistic people that are contributing to this world in every walk of life that you can imagine. I mean, I've taught with poets. I've taught with other music producers. I've taught with, you know, people that you know, musicians. I mean, I've talked with so many different people that are autistic, and if you did not know that they were autistic, if they didn't tell you they were autistic, you wouldn't know. You know, and I had one lady tell me that sometimes that when an autistic person tells you that they are autistic, you know, the biggest thing that you have to do is respond in a correct way. You know, if you respond going, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "I didn't know you was autistic," you know, it's like that makes them kind of regret that they told you, because if they tell you that they're autistic and you didn't know, they're sharing an intimate part of their life because they trust you and value your input. You know, so how you respond, you know, is very critical, you know, so don't be shocked, you know, just go, "Oh, okay." You know, and then you can ask your questions, you can find out more, because that's part of the understanding, you know, but I think there's so much more that we need to learn, and so much more that the people that are not in the autistic world need to learn, so that when they do come in contact with someone, it's okay. You know, because everybody's different. I mean, I know some people that aren't autistic that I look at them and I'm going, okay, what world are they from? Because they act so differently, you know? I mean, but that's part of life. Everybody's different. Just because they're different doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Just means they're different, and some people just have these little idiosyncrasies that are different, but it's okay.
Yeah. And like you said, I think understanding is a very important part, and that it's okay to ask. And it seems that it has kind of been pushed away a little bit in society, of just being able to ask questions because you're curious and have an understanding, and not that, you know, it's taken wrong, and that you shouldn't ask any questions. If you do, you're somehow, you know, I don't know, being mean or something like that. And but yeah, I mean, I think understanding is important for anyone, and if they're bringing it up, I mean, they obviously are wanting to open the conversation of it.
Right. I mean, and the autism spectrum has so many different levels. I mean, they've got people that are highly, they can be violent. They've got some people that have a hard time communicating. They got some that are nonverbal, but they can communicate through an iPad or whatever. Then you've got those that are in the mid part where they work and get taught and transition into the workforce. And then you've got those that are very highly functional. So but if you look at life, just look at people and take the autism word out of it. If you just look at life, we've got that all across our world. You can walk into any city and you can see, people on different levels of life, not knowing what they're going through, not knowing, what their issue is. And so it's just another thing that we need to help so that we can understand it. And I think that's the biggest thing is because I've had people tell me, that I've been interviewed by, it's like, oh, you're gonna become an expert. There's no way in the world I'm gonna be an expert. That's way above my pay grade. But what has allowed me to do, it has opened my mind. It has opened my ability to learn about things, and it has exposed me to things that I didn't know about, but I'm learning. So when I talk with different people around the world that are autistic or have a son or daughter that's autistic or autism is in their family, everybody tells me their story, and I learn just a little sliver every time I talk with somebody. And that helps me in the next interview because somebody might bring something up and say, oh, well, I was told that this happened to them. Does this affect you? And then they tell me whether it affected them or didn't affect them or how they dealt with it. And by telling that story, I'm hoping that people that are listening to my podcast, no matter where they are in the world, if they're hearing somebody telling their story about how they found out or what they dealt with through high school or the different things that happened in their life, they will hear people that are telling their stories that they can relate to. Just like we want people to relate to our music that we produce, if they can hear somebody that's talking about their life that they can relate to, then hopefully that'll break down some of those barriers, and then it'll make some of these people feel less alone. And the reason why I use less alone is because I had one autistic person tell me that he was bullied through high school, and that made him feel very alone. And that really resonated with me because nobody should feel alone in this life, right. Unless we want to be alone. There's sometimes we want to go into our room and get away from the world and be alone. That's okay. But going out into the world and being able to communicate with others, you shouldn't feel like you're alone. You should feel like you can be able to blend in and fit, and everybody just accepts you. And that's what I think we need, because when one person told me that they felt alone, there are others out there that feel the same. So let's break those barriers down and make people feel more, and let's embrace that and make people feel less alone.
Yeah. And so if you were at walking downtown in Nashville along the main street, you said Music Row, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Music Row, you got Broadway where everybody go. Yeah.
So if you're walking around there at 2:00 in the afternoon on a regular day, where are you going to be? Not like what place you're going to go into. If you're like in the outside part the whole time, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be going and setting up somewhere and watching stuff? Are you going to want to go talk with someone? Are you going to want to just take everything in? Are you going to be in the middle trying to party, or what's your
Nashville is a multicultural city now. So when you go down on Broadway, you've got everything from the Predators on one side, and then you go across the river and you've got the Titans, and then you've got the Hard Rock Cafe, and you've got a lot of stars that have opened up restaurants, and you've got so much entertainment that's there. You can find anything that you want. I don't go down there that often because I work. When I go to Nashville, I go to Nashville to work, meet people, have conversations, meetings, whatever I need to do, go in the studios, work. I've got a studio that I built that's north of Nashville that I do all my post-production work on. So if I go to Nashville, it's usually for some function, like here in another 2 or 3 weeks, you got what they used to call Fanfare, but they call it CMA Music Fest now. That's coming to town. We'll have hundreds of thousands of people come in for that. You'll have all the stars here, so there's so much going on in Nashville that happens. You got the Grand Ole Opry, you got so much stuff. So Nashville's really turned into a great place to be, to go and see whatever you want to see.
So then what about in the town where you record? If you're standing on Main Street in the town that you record, you have your recording studio in, where are you?
Well,
what are you doing?
I live in a little town just north of Nashville called White House. And what I do is I go into Nashville and I'll lay down my tracks, get all the music done in a bigger studio. Then I'll bring all that back. And then I've got a post-production studio where I do all my overdubs, my background vocals, my lead vocals, get all the nuances that I want in there, and then get ready, to do the mix down. So the reason why I moved to White House was because it was a little town that kind of emulated where I came from. Because Madison, Maine is a little town of about 5,000 people. You got one street. It's kind of like Mayberry, RFD. You got one street. If you blink, you've missed the town. And it's a town where everybody knows everybody. It's laid back. It's a great place. I've told people, if I could do in Madison what I do in Nashville, I would have never left. But you got to go to where it's happening. Music is here in Nashville. It's been here in Music City, USA. So that's why I had to be here. But the little town that I live in now, in the last since I've been here 30 years now, it has grown and grown and grown. So luckily I'm outside of the city a little bit, so I don't have to deal with the traffic. I'm more in the country. The perfect great thing is the other day I get up and I got a little Datsun. She's barking out the window and there's a rabbit there just kind of looking at it. And then a few minutes later, a deer runs across my front lawn, and then a few minutes later, the deer comes back and it's got the fawn with her. You can't get that in a city. So I love where I'm at because I've got the country feeling, but yet in 10 or 15 minutes, I can be right in the middle of the music city and doing what I want to do.
So then, okay, so maybe I didn't explain this question quite right.
Okay.
So what I meant, so if you were in Madison, Maine, and you're standing on Main Street,
right?
Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be trying to find someone, or are you going to be in the middle of like in a small town like that, and you're just random day going into town? What are you going to want to do? And something like that.
Madison doesn't have a whole lot there, as far as entertainment goes. It's got a little bit here and there, but I would just, if I went into Madison, I'm just going in to do business, pick up a few things, maybe run into a few friends that I haven't seen in a while, that type of thing. Because like I said, it's a small town, but that's the beauty of it. It's a small town. So there's not a lot to do. You've got to, if you want it, there's no, to give you a perfect example, I've got a phrase that I use that, a lot of my friends now, have started saying the same thing. But when people ask me when I'm going back to Madison, and I'm going back there in a couple of weeks to visit, and I'll tell them, they'll say, "So where are you going?" I say, "I'm going back to the little town that time forgot." Because when I go back to Madison, I've been away from it for 30 years. There's only a couple, 3 things that's changed. There's a Subway that came in, there's a Dunkin' Donuts that came in. I think there's a Family Dollar that came in, it doesn't change much. That's, to some people that's horrible. to me, that's the beauty of it, because I'm going back to, where I can be in a very good comfort zone. So if I want to go to a mall, if I want to go to a bigger, fancier restaurant, or I want to go to a club or anything, I have to go, 30 minutes to an hour away just to do that from Madison. But, that's the beauty of living in a small town or being part of a small town, because it's just there for you.
So then you would just want to go to your place you're staying there and just stay there and hang out.
That's all I do. When I go, I stay where I'm staying, and I might go out, to there's a little department store there that everybody goes to. I might go there, see if they got anything new that, or whatever. And then I might run into some friends I haven't seen. And that's about it. It's just really chilling. And then cause I've got a camp on the lake that my family has, and we go, chill out there, and that's nothing better than hearing that water crash against the side of the bank and everything. So it's just very laid back.
Sounds like a nice place to be.
It is.
Yeah. And so everyone up there, is everyone big Patriots fans up there? Is that what the town's about?
Mostly you've got Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins, and because this year here, the Red Sox aren't doing all that good, although they're above 500, and they're in a very, very tough division where everybody isn't above 500, which is the only division in baseball that's that way. Celtics just lost Game 7. Bruins lost. We're going to see what the Patriots are this fall. So that's pretty. I mean, because you've got people that move there, and you've got people that are fans of different teams, but you've got a high percentage of New England fans there.
That's what I hear. But yeah, it seems like that's a good thing, and you get
and they're diehard fans. Oh, they get really ticked off if their team loses. I mean, it's like Celtics lost the other night, Game 7. It was discouraging because they lost. They got blown out. But the thing is it's a game. That's the whole thing. I saw a clip of some movie that Clint Eastwood's in, and it's about this pitcher, and his daughter brings him up and says, I've got this new pitcher. We've got to try him out. And so he gets on the mound, and she goes, throw the fastball. And then he just stands there looking at the hitter, and she walks up. She goes, are you nervous? He goes, no, ma'am, it's just a game. She goes, that's right. It's just a game. So, people got to have that mentality that it's just a game, although they get paid millions of dollars for that game, but it's still just a game.
Yeah. Well, okay. Hey, thank you so much for coming on here and getting to talk about everything and not knowing what we were going to talk about. So it went where it needed to go and got to where it needed to get. And so
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. And where are people going to find you on the internet here?
Well, if they can Google my name, Tony Mantor, Mantor, and pretty much everything comes up. They can go to tonymantor.com. On my Facebook and all social media, it's at Tony Mantor. YouTube, it's Tony Mantor. So pretty much, they can find me wherever they want to find me. And I just ask people to go to my podcast and follow it and tell people about it, because if they know anybody that would like to be on this show, like I said, it's a podcast. It's going to be real people telling real stories. So I've got some celebrities that's going to be on it that have some autism in their families, but the premise of this show is for real people, so that way people can hear their stories and share it. And if someone wants to be on it, I'd love to have them on it. So tell everybody and just share it. And hopefully we can build something that can be, worthy of their time.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, yeah. So everyone check it out. Get on there. Get a hold of Tony here. And yeah, Tony, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
You bet. All right. That's Tony Mantor. So you got to an hour with him today. So you have all the places you can find him. And this has been on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN. Check out other shows on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, including When the Gloves Come Off, including the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast, including Saved by the Ben, including This Is It with Lizzie. All those are on there. And then our sponsors, we have Fred Ben Savage as Fuck, Stone Reads Productions, Hypnosis is Great, Hardcore and Comedy, and Sock 'em Up. And that's at sockemup.org, where people need socks and they're asked for it, but it's the least delivered. So we're giving people socks. People are getting socks from Sock 'em Up. And you guys, that is the show, man. Like and subscribe and share it around because it's so good, and you want to, and you love it. You love sharing it. You love sharing it. Just like I'm trying to share the screen here. I'm going to share the screen. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?